This coffee chat is a continuation of my instructional video on issues in AI, particularly AI writers, and why students should not use them, and you should not let your student use them. So, I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth than it was possible to do in that tutorial. Um, AI interrupts our thinking, right? You have to think in order to write. You're, if you allow your students to do that, you're letting them train their brain to be lazy. If you're old enough to remember when calculators were not allowed in high school, think about how less able you can do math in your head than you could before. Um, because your brain thinks, oh, I don't have to do this because I have this other thing. Is it a tool? It can be in limited circumstances, right? There still is no substitute for knowing how to use keywords in search engines and find the information yourself, right? Because if you did not see that, you should go look for it because um, uh, the AI writers that are available here in the US cannot do references. They don't do references and they will make it up. If they don't know the full answer to the prompt question that you put in, it literally lies and makes it up. And I covered that in that tutorial. But I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. Um, Using AI is plagiarism for your assignments, right? Because they do not cite their sources. It's not in the coding. They can't do it. Um, so even if the student rewrites a lot of the content, it has to be rewritten up to 90% in order to make sure that that doesn't work. Now, I've heard from a lot of you where we follow each other on Blue Sky that you're like, oh, I put this into an AI detector and it said zero. That's not the way to do it. Every AI detector software, and I'm signed up for 3 different ones, they literally don't work or they'll return an extremely low score. If you find the time in your schedule to do a couple of webinars on how to use ChatGPT, how to use Grammarly, how to use Gemini, right? If you take those trainings, you don't even have to use that stuff. I've done all of those trainings. I can look at something a student submitted and immediately spot whether they used ChatGPT or Grammarly or Gemini because they all write at different grade levels. So, one of the easiest ways for you to tell if your student used one of those AI writers to do their assignment is to take the prompt that you gave them in their assignment instructions, put that into ChatGPT, put that into Grammarly, see what comes back, right? Um, that is the best way to find out because those the AI detection software, they're just abysmal. So, because, and I talked in that tutorial, um, AI, because it's plagiarism, because it scours the internet for articles and blogs and stuff like that. So you should be careful what you put on the internet that's open access. like a public blog, be careful because AI is going to grab it, right? It's the same way with art. The AI art that is generated, it's all stealing from other artists' work that they can find online. So it scours the internet from 1997 to 2024. If it's on something like Substack, where you have to have a password in order to access it, that gives you some protection, right? But let's get back to the topic here. I want to show you how, because I talked in the thing, I am not going to look up the lawyer who got fired for using AI, because you can find that very easily yourself, or where the president of Harvard got fired for not having proper citations. But I want you to see this one. I don't usually do screen share during a coffee chat. Okay. Chinese student expelled from MIT for AI misconduct. I will put the link to this in the chat. And here's why she used it. She wanted to make her paper look better. Your students' papers are going to look better if you provide full instruction to them. You teach them what a robust paper looks like. There's just a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen. Phrases and stuff like that make a ton of difference, right? Then I wanted to show you this paper. Thank you to, I forget who the heck on Blue Sky posted this in Academic Sky, the thread. But this is absolutely a fantastic paper. And I'm going to link this in the chat too, because this is open access, or not in the chat, in the comments or the description, one of those, right? And you can see this is from last October. It was just published in January. So we've got to think, what the heck are we teaching our students? They need those critical thinking skills. You have to think in order to write. If you're using an AI writer to give you the content for your writing project, you're not thinking. Now, I understand everybody gets writer's block, right? Maybe you need a summary or something. Wikipedia is a great resource for a summary to go read up about something. Like I said in the tutorial, you can have your students try out different search engines. Try Google, try DuckDuckGo, try Startpage, try Bing. See what comes back. Use the exact same keywords in all of those search engines and then compare the results, right? Now, the reason I feel that this has gotten to be such a important topic that I need to spend a coffee chat on it is because if you don't have those critical thinking skills that come from writing from your own brain, you're not going to recognize corruption, right? So this is where I'm tying this into my short on corruption in education. You need to be able to see where those items are that alert you to corruption in education. So first of all, you got to follow the money trail, right? And there's a lot of talk about that nationally right now, but it's the lack of critical thinking is going about it just totally the wrong way. When you're siphoning off funds, that is corruption. That is not finding corruption. That is not taking the money away from those who are corrupt. That's taking it away from kids. Okay. Particularly in education. That is taking the money away from students. That is taking away money that we as educators need to have in order to serve our students through our salaries, our classroom allocations, things like that. Not being able to utilize your human ability for critical thinking to see the pattern in these things is what fuels corruption, right? And then you have all kinds of issues with the best people are not getting hired that are going to be able to see this, to see where the corruption is. You need a variety of people. There should never be one person at the top who's doing it. You need almost a mini army of people with a variety of experiences in order to be able to catch everywhere that there might be corruption. One person's not going to be able to see it all. Like when I was in law school, my professors were just absolutely stunned at some of the perspective I brought into the cases that we had to analyze as law school students, because my background at the time was from education and HR. And most of the other students in the class, they had only ever studied law. Their parents were lawyers, their grandparents were lawyers. They had studied law. It was almost like a family business kind of thing. And my professors were just absolutely stunned at the perspective that I was able to bring into that analysis, because I didn't, have just one eye open, right? It's like if you are looking at the world like this, you're missing half the picture. So we need that variety of people with different lived experiences, different abilities in order to be able to safeguard against corruption before it happens. Benjamin Franklin said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that goes in education better than anywhere else that I can think of, because we are training tomorrow's leaders. We are training tomorrow's senators, tomorrow's House representatives, tomorrow's mayors. We need to take that responsibility and step up just that little bit ourselves and make sure those students are getting those one or two extra pieces for that comprehensive training in writing and writing well. And absolutely let them know that it's practice. You can't just decide one day, oh, I'm going to go play football, or I'm going to go play soccer, or I'm going to be a goalie, and just throw your gear on and hop out there with no practice. You have to practice at it. Writing is like a sport. You have to practice. It's like doing your beadwork. It's like sewing clothes. It's like leather work. It's like quilting. The more you do it, the better quality product is produced. So I am going to go and do my taxes, which is a whole other story for the second time in 2 days because the software crashed. And I will see you guys in the next coffee chat.